Yeah, streaming, yeah. We're live. Yeah, we're live. No, you just start us off with the first Nigun, Jeremiah. You take over, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. We're going to continue with Talit number 4. An invitation to go a little deeper inside and ask for a little help and warmth and perception as we acknowledge the complex thoughts and feelings that swirl inside. Number 4, Talit. like you would to shield your young. My soul and my body in your care. Number 6, Ashira. But I, in your faithful love, do trust. My heart will exult in your deliverance. There are times when we experience great darkness, loss of freedom, and the uprooting of life like our ancestors experienced in the times of the Maccabees. Then something miraculous happens. The world seems to turn. The light shines again. And we sing to the Lord, for God has been good to us. Number 6, Shirat. Patachti Yageli Bibi Shuatecha Ani Bechestecha Patachti Rabbi Nachman says something to the effect of that when you're leading prayer, your job is to be really a conductor, and he doesn't say the word jazz, but it's of an unrehearsed orchestra, and your job is to feel the hearts and the souls of everybody who's praying, and somehow weave it all together into something communal and harmonious and beautiful and in service. And this is definitely an unrehearsed orchestra. So the more you put your heart into it, I think the more we'll be in sync. So let's empty our hearts. Number 3, may I be empty and open to receive the light of Hanukkah. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be grateful that all of you are with me and still with me, as difficult as it might be to sing along. It's sometimes the beauty of this renewal service is when it really works, it's just like a magic carpet, and you just have to get on and it will carry you the whole way. But sometimes if I don't know where we're going, the ride can be a little bumpy. But on this Shabbat, this Hanukkah, this Rosh Chodesh, this Christmas Eve, it's great to be together. Number 10, Hine Matov. Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad Hine Matov Lots to be grateful for. I invite everyone to rise in spirit, and those who are able to rise in body. You can say amen to each blessing or join me on page 39. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, source of distinction, life of dimensions, who gives the rooster understanding to distinguish night from day. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, eternal our God, ruler of the universe, who made me part of Israel. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, source of freedom, life of the world, who has not made me a slave. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who made me according to your will. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, source of vision, life of the world, who opens the eyes of the blind. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, clothed one our God, ruler of the universe, who clothes the naked. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, boundless one, life of the world, who frees the bound. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, source of healing, ruler of the universe, who straightens the bent. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, open one, life for the world, who spreads out the earth over the waters. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, heroic one, our God, ruler of the universe, who makes firm my steps strong. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, great provider, life for the world, who provides for all my needs. I messed up. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, great power, ruler of the universe, who empowers Israel with strength. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, great beauty, life of the world, who crowns our people with beauty. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, source of strength, our God, ruler of the universe, who gives strength to the weary. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are we, awaken one life of the world, to remove sleep from my eyes and slumber from my eyelids. For all these blessings and many more, we say, Amen. Offer this opportunity for all those in mourning or observing the Yortzeit to rise, and we'll join together in the Mourner's Kaddish. In the Rainbow Book, it's 224. In the Siddur, it's, I believe, 82. Together. Yit Gedal v'yit Kedash Shemech Be'amah divra chirute v'yamlich malchute b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chaye d'chol Beit Yisrael ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam olmei omaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitulmam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalav shmei d'kudashah b'richu Le'ela minkot bechata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Otsei shalom b'mromav u'yasei shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Invite all of us to rise for the Baruch number 17. Awake, am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? La 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 Adonai Hamevorach Baruch Number 20, Min HaMeitzar, which would be included in the traditional Shabbat morning service as it's part of the Hallel prayers. And so we share it this morning because it's Rosh Chodesh, the new month. But we also sing Hallel during Shabbat, during Hanukkah. And, just that turn of events, just so incredible that things turned around in the time of the Maccabees. That for about 150 years, probably actually under the Persians as well. So from the Persian period, which begins in 539 BCE, and Alexander takes over in around 332, then to about 175 BCE. Yes, you had a foreign ruler, either the Persians or the Greeks, and there was exploitation and no doubt challenges, but there was security and stability. And the Jews could practice, we could practice our religion. And that all changed with Antiochus IV and the Hanukkah story, where practicing Judaism became punishable by death. And it's just quite extraordinary that this small band of farmers turns fighters, priests turns warriors, was able to throw off the yoke of the Greek oppression and continue to practice Judaism. And so for all those little things that we feel can't be changed, Mina Metzar, we can call out from this place of confinement of seeing no light, and hopefully find the answer in God's great expansiveness. Number 20. Mina Metzar karatia, anani v'mechavya. And again. Min ha-metzah karati we're going to experiment with Lach Amar Libi. This is best rendered in I would call it a Hawaiian. I think it might say reggae on there, but really Hawaiian is really the vibe for this one. And I don't think I've ever done this without the cantor, and it's a little dangerous. I don't think we've ever done this together. But it's really beautiful. It's to you, says my heart, meaning you're working through me, God, and my heart is then speaking to me in your voice. Seek my face. Et panaich ara havaya avakesh. And so I turn to you, God, and seek your face. And since we can see God's face through joy and happiness, we're going to be happy with the Hawaiian-style rendition of Lach Amar Libi. Amar Libi Bakshufana Bakshufana seek the face of the divine. Shema ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ושוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך ולטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. For the Amidah today, the word deliverance and delivered appears a lot in the special prayer for Hanukkah that's added to the Amidah on 118. And I don't think it would really work for me to say, may I feel delivered. I'd feel like parcel post or something, you know. But I think that sense of being delivered might be that sense of being firm, that you've got to a place where you can stand, where it's no longer rocky and shaky. So for me, it's going to be, may I feel firm. And then, may I feel kindled. May I feel firm, and may I feel kindled. May I feel ignited. May I feel my light rising up and shining. May I flicker. If you want to remain seated or stand, if you want to use a book, it's 1 in 15 in the blue book as we receive the gift of the Amidah on this Shabbat of Hanukkah and Rosh Chodesh. So again, thank you all for joining together for each other on this Shabbat, Hanukkah, Rosh Chodesh, Christmas Eve. Thank you to Jeremiah Clareman. Woo! Definitely a distinctive style of prayer with Jeremiah, for which I think we're all so grateful. In the 10 o'clock hour, you're welcome to stay in the sanctuary for the Torah service. You're welcome to hang out in the lobby. I don't know if we have coffee or not today. No coffee today. If your feet take you out the front doors, we wish you a Shabbat Shalom and a happy Hanukkah. Thank you for joining us. And the cantor will be back with you. My job is to make you miss her dearly. I think I succeeded. And I'll see you in 2 weeks for Noam's bar mitzvah. Happy Hanukkah. Go ahead, Jeremiah.
Just curious.
Yes.
If you happened to hear President Biden talking about Hanukkah.
I
when
didn't.
Zelensky was there.
No.
So he really likened the Ukrainians to the Maccabees.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And you know.
Biden did.
And light. Talk about light and future. It was beautiful. It was so on message. This is like what I wish I could ever play like, right, Bach? I was looking at this.
Really nice.
Looking forward to Noah's bar mitzvah.
Thank you. Me too.
Heated electric gloves.
Heated electric
They have
gloves.
these gloves that
La 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 la. La 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 la. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Ya la da 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 da. Ya da 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 da. Page 139. En kamocha ve'Elohim Adonai ve'en kamasecha malchutecha malchut kol hamim u'memshaltecha b'chol dor v'ador. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed. Adonai oz le'amo yiden. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Av harachamim hitiv avitzoncha et Zion. Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Tivnei chomot Yerushalayim. Kivecha levad batachnu. Melech Aram v'nisa Adon olamim. Vayehi binso Aaron vayomer Moshe Kuma Adonai ve'afutzu oivecha ve'yanusu misanecha mipanecha ki mitzion tetzeh Torah ki mitzion tetzeh Torah u'devar Adonai mirushalayim Baruch shenatan Torah Torah Baruch shenatan Torah Torah le'amo Yisrael b'kedushato. Rule of your space, me name in your sovereignty. We are the servants of the Holy One, whom we revere and whose Torah we revere at all times. Not on mortals do we rely, nor upon angels do we depend, but on the God of the universe, the God of truth, whose Torah is truth, whose prophets are truth, and who abounds in deeds of goodness and truth. In God do we put our trust, unto God's holy, precious being do we utter praise. Open our hearts to your Torah, answer our prayers and the prayers of all your people, Israel, for goodness, for life, and for peace. Amen. Velishme Kadisha, Kadisha Yakira, Anahema Tushbechan, Be'anarachet, Be'anarachet, Velishme Kadisha, Kadisha Yakira, Anahema Tushbechan, Yeherava Kodama, Letitach libi beoraita, Letashli mishali velibi, Veliba dechol amach Yisrael, Letavu lechayin velishlam. Amen. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael. Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo. Return to face the ark. Turn to face the ark. Return to face the ark. Galul Adonai Hiti Unerom Shemo Yachdav. Howie, you're the first Torah, so you go first. Donnie's the second Torah, you go second. Follow Howie. Alan's the third, and you'll go third behind. There we go. Lech Adonai Hagedura V'Hagevura V'Tiferet V'Hanetzach V'Hahol Ki chov hashamayim u'va'aretz Ki chov hashamayim u'va'aretz Lech Adonai ha'mamlacha Mamit na'aseh lechol erosh Romemu, Romemu, Adonai Eloheinu, ve'ishtachavu, ve'ishtachavu, lehadom raglav kadoshu, Romemu, Romemu, Adonai Eloheinu, ve'ishtachavu, ve'ishtachavu, lehakodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. As the Torahs come to rest, we too take our seats. Page 250 is Parashat Miketz. Pharaoh awakes from a dream a couple years after Joseph interpreted the dreams of the bartender and the baker. And Pharaoh has a dream that has no solution until Joseph comes. We'll read this story beginning on page 250.
I hold my breath when you announce the parsha. God forbid I
That's not gonna can't happen. Vayazor v'gem v'hoshir lecho hosim b'vonam ha'mena kohavu gadol Eloheinu utnu chavod la'Torah kohen karav ya'amod David Beryl ben Zalman HaKohen Baruch shenatan Torah lo Moiseh b'kedushato v'atem ha'devikim b'Aaron Elohechem Hayim kohem hayom.
Page 250, verse 1, top of the page.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Vahed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Bachal Banu Mikol Hanim V'Talanu Et Torto. Baruch Atah Adonai Notena Torah.
Amen. Vayehi miketz shanatayim yamim ufaroch olem v'hinei amor
Omed.
amor alayor v'hinei min hayor olat sheva parot yefot mareh uvriot basar v'ater enu ba'achu v'hinei sheva parot acherot alot achrehen min hayor araot mareh v'dakot basar ותעמונה אצל הפרות על שפת היער, ותאכלנה הפרות רעות המראה ודקות הבשר, את שבע הפרות יפות המראה ובריאות, ויקץ
Paro.
פרעה. What was the...
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Asher nata lana Torah emet v'chai Allah b'tachanu. Baruch Atah Adonai Notena Torah.
Amen. Number 2, come on up. Ta'amod Rashabat Hinder Rezo. Rashabat Hinder Rezo. Abraham Yitzhak. Sheni.
Page 250, verses 5 through 7.
Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamvarah.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Vahed.
Baruch Adonai Havarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Vayishan vayachalom shenit v'nei sheva shibolim alot bekanecha briot v'tovot v'nei sheva shibolim dakot ushtufot kadim tzomachot acharehen v'tivlana hashibolim hadakot eight sheva hashibolim habriot v'hamleot v'yikatz paro v'nei
Shalom.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nota b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
We're on page 251, verse 8.
Ta'amod. Miriam Shoshana bat Marsha Yehudit v'Mordechai Shalishi.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach.
Baruch Adonai Mavarach Leolam Vahed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam. Asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Vayiva boker vatipo emrucho vayishalach vayikra et kochatu me Mitzrayim v'et kocha chachameha v'seper paro lehem et chalomo ve'en poter otom lefaro v'edaber sar hamashkim et paro lemor et chata ani maskir hayom Faro katzaf al avodav, vayten oti b'mishma beitzar ha'tabaot, oti v'yetzar ha'ofim, v'nachal ma'chalom b'layla ha'echad, ani v'hu ish kefitron chalomo, chalamdu, v'sham itanu na'ar ivri, evel l'sar ha'tabachim, v'nasaper lo, vayif. Vayavtolano er chalamotenu, ish kachalamo patar, vayehi kasher patalanu ken haya, oti heshiv akani, v'yoto tala, vayishlach paro v'yikra et Yosef, vayritzu min habor, vayigalach vayichalef limloto, vayavo.
El Paro.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen. Ya'amod Yehuda Reuben ben Moshe V'chaya V'chava Zissel Rivi'i.
We're on page 252, verse 15, towards the top of the page.
Right here. Right there.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach.
Baruch Adonai Mavarach Leolam Vahed.
Baruch Adonai Hamarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hamarach. I'm sorry. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Vayom paro el Yosef chalom chalamti ufoter ein oto va'ani shamati alech lemor tishma chalom liftor oto vayan Yosef et paro lemor biladai Elohim yane et shalom paro וידבר פרעה אל יוסף חלומי,
Bachalam.
בחלומי, הנני עומד על שפת היאור, והנה מן היאור עולה 7 פרות בריאות בשר ויפות תואר, ותראינו באחו, והנה 7 פרות אחרות עולות אחריהן, דלות ורעות תואר, מאוד ורכות בשר, לא ראיתי כהנה בכל ארץ מצרים לרוע, ותאכלנו הפרות הרכות והרעות את 7 הפרות הראשונות הבריאות. ותבואנה אל קרבנה, ולא נודע כי באו אל קרבנה, ומראיהן רע, כאשר בתחייה ויקץ, וירא בחלומי, והנה 7 שיבולים עולות בקנה אחד מלאות וטובות, והנה 7 שיבולים צנומות דקות שדופות קדים, צומחות אחריהם, ותבלענה השיבולים הדקות את 7 השיבולים הטובות, ואמר אל החרטומים, ואין מגיד לי.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם, אתה בשכנו ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה. Shabbos.
253, verse 25.
Hayam Barisa, Chamishi.
Okay, right here.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvarach. Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher bacha banu mikol hamim, v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch ata Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Vayomo Yosef el Paro, Halom Paro Echaru et Asher ha'Elohim asa yigid lefaro 7 parot hatovot 7 shanim hena ו7 השיבולים הטובות 7 שנים הנה חלום אחד הוא ו7 הפרות הרכות והרעות העלות אחריהם 7 שנים הנה ו7 השיבולים הריקות שדופות הקדים יהיו 7 שני רעב הוא הדבר אשר דיברתי אל פרעה אשר עליהם עשה הראה את פרעה הנה 7 שנים בעוד צבא גדול בכל ארץ מצרים וקמו 7 שני רעב אחריהם ונשקף כל הצבא בארץ מצרים וכילה הרעב את הארץ ולא יוודע הצבא בארץ מפני הרעב ההוא אחרי כן כי חמור הוא מאוד ועל הישנות החלום אל פרעה פעמיים כי נכון הדבר מעם האלוהים וממהר האלוהים לעשותו ועתה ירא פרעה איש נבון וחכם ושיתהו על ארץ מצרים יעשה פרעה ויפקד פיקחים על הארץ וחימש את ארץ מצרים ב7 שני הסבה ויקבצו את כל אוכל השנים הטובות הבאות האלה ויצפרו בתחת יד פרעה אוכל ברים ושמרו והיה האוכל לפיקדון לארץ ל7 שני הרעב אשר תהיינה בארץ מצרים ולא תקרא את הארץ ברעב ויטב הדבר בעיני פרעה ובעיני כל עבדיו ויאמר פרעה אל עבדיו הנה הנמצא הזה איש אשר רוח אלוהים בו
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
We're on page 254, verse 39, middle of the page.
Ya'amod Me'er Yaakov ben Mendel Elihu Shishi.
Baruch et Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Mavarach Leolam Vahed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Adonai Adonai Eloheinu Melech Olam Asher B'charbanu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu et Torato. Baruch Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
Vayom paro el Yosef achrei hodi aleim otcha et kol zot ein avon v'chacham kamocha ata tiyeh al beiti v'apicha yishak kol ami racha kisei egdal mimeka vayom paro el Yosef re'ein atati otcha al kol eretz Mitzrayim vayasa paro et avoto me'al yado vayiten oto al yad Yosef Vayabesh oto bigdei shesh vayasem ravit hazahav al tzavoro vayakav oto b'merkev et hamishne asher lo vayikru lefonov avrech v'natan oto al kol eretz Mitzrayim vayomer paro Yosef ani faro uviladech lo yarim ish Et Yadov yet raglo b'chol eretz Mitzrayim vayikra paro shem Yosef tzafnat paneach v'yitein lo et asanat bat potifera kohen od leisha vayitze Yosef el eretz Mitzrayim v'Yosef ben shloshim shana b'amado lifnei Faro melech Mitzrayim Vayetze Faro lifnei Faro vayavor b'chol eretz Mitzrayim v'ta'as ha'aretz b'sheva shenei hasava lik matzim vayikbot et kol ochas sheva shanim asher yiyu ba'aretz be'eretz Mitzrayim vayiten ochel b'arim ochel sedei ha'ir asher sivoteha v'natan b'tocha Vayitzbor Yosef bar kochol hayom harbe mod ad ki chadal lispor ki ein emin mispar ul Yosef yulad shnei banim b'terem tavo shenat ha'ra'av asher yalo asanat bat potifera kohen on vayikra Yosef shem ha-b'chor ha-menashe Ki nashani Elohim ekol amali v'ekol beiti avi v'ekol beit avi v'eit shem hasheni kara Ephraim ki hifrani Elohim be'eretz ani.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher natan lanu Torah emet chayei olam notah b'tzolkenu Baruch atah Adonai noten HaTorah.
Amen. As the Torah moves, we'll rise while the Torah is traveling. As we bring the second Sefer Torah to the reader's table, and we invite Yomdu Hamagbia Hagol Elele Sefer Torah Harishona, the lifter and tire of the first Sefer Torah. Torah Asher Samoshe Lifnei Bnei Yisrael Api Adonai B'yad Moshe Torah, 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 Torah Tziva lanu Moshe Torah, 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 Torah Tziva lanu Moshe Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe. Morasha Keilat Yaakov, Morasha Keilat Yaakov, Morasha Keilat Yaakov. Torah, Tziva lanu Moshe. There are there are 4 possible times in the year where we read from 3 Sifrei Torah. We talked about this last Thursday. This Shabbat, we read from 3 because we have Shabbat, which gives us 1 Torah. We always have that. For the special holiday or time, we have a reading as well for Rosh Chodesh, which will be the next reading. And then the last reading is for Hanukkah. And the other 3 times in the year in which we can possibly read from 4 Sifrei Torah are, we read from 3 Sifrei Torah. At Simchat Torah, we read from 3 Sifrei Torah. We read the last book of the end of Deuteronomy. We need another scroll for the beginning of Genesis. And we need a 3rd scroll for the holiday that comes from another section of the Torah. The other 2 times are when special Shabbatot fall out on Rosh Chodesh. So Shabbat Shekalim, which is about 2 weeks before Purim, that can fall out on Rosh Chodesh. And then you have Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, and Shekalim. And the other one is the Shabbat HaChodesh, which is the new month of Nisan in anticipation of Passover. If that falls out on the new month, you have Shabbat, Rosh Chodesh, and Shabbat HaChodesh. So this is a 3 Sefer Torah morning. As Mark's son, what was the story? What does it?
When my son was little, Rabbi Weinsberg asked him what Rosh Chodesh meant. He looked back at him and he said 15 more minutes.
That's exactly right.
So what does it mean when there's 3 Sifrei Torah? About 15 more minutes. We're holding now, if you want to follow along, we're on page 930, chapter 28, verses 9 through 15. We read about the observance of Rosh Chodesh in the temple, and we like to call it Bar Yaakov. Ya'amod Baruch ben Simachaya Shvi'i. I think so.
Page 930, verse 9.
Baruch Hu Adonai Hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Mavarach Leolam Vahed.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Leolam Vaed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Bachar Banu Mikol Ha'amim V'natan Lanu Et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen.
ויום השבת שני חפצים בני שנה תמימים ושני אסונים סולת מנחה בלבש שמן ונזכור עולת שבת בשבתו על אורות תמיד ונזכור ובראשך תשכם תקריבו לאדוני פרים בני בקר שניים ואל אחד כבשים בני שנה 7 תמימים ושלושה אסונים סולת מנחה בלבש שמן לפרה האחד ושני אסונים סולת מנחה בלבש שמן לאל האחד ויסרון יסרון סולת מנחה בלבש שמן לכבש האחד עולה ריח ניחוח אישה לאדוני ונזכיהם חצי ההין ילפר ושלישית ההין לאל ורביעית ההין לכבש יין זאת עולת חודש בחדשו לחדשי השנה ושעיר עזים אחד לחטאת לאדוני על אורות התמיד
ונזכור
יעשה ונזכור
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Natan Lanu Torah Emet B'chayei Olam Natan B'tochenu Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah.
Amen. Once again, we rise as the 3rd Sefer Torah is brought to the reader's table. Chant the Hatzi Kaddish. Yitkada v'yitkada shemei rabba ve'alma divrach yotei v'amlech machutei b'chayechon uv'yomechon u'chayedecho beit Yisrael bagala bagala uvizman kari v'meru amen yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olamo me'omaya yibara Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitbar v'tman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitale, v'yitala, shemedek kudesha barichu, le'ela min kol bechata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, damiram be'alama, v'imeru amen. V'zot ha'torah asher sam Moshe לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. כי מציון תצא תורה ובהשם ירושלים. 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 And although it's not the anniversary of her bat mitzvah, it is the same haftorah as her bat mitzvah. And so for the, I don't know how that all worked out. Anyways, for the haftorah, in the maftiale, we'd like to call up Susan Yakalo. Ya ta'amod. I can't see it, huh? Golda bat simachayash, maftir.
It's page 808, verse 42, towards the bottom of the page.
It's the sixth day, right? Okay, right there.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai mavarach le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher bachar banu michol ha'amim v'natan lanu et torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Hayom hashishi nasi livnei Gad el Yosef ben Duel karbano ka'arat kesef achad shloshim u'me'ah mishkalach mizrak echad kesef shivim shekel b'shekel hakodesh shnehem meleim solet bluva shemen lemincha kaf achad asra zaham melei katoret par echad ben bakar al echad kevs echad ben shatol yallah Se'irizim echad lechatar u'lezevach hashlamim bakar shanahim Elim chamisha atudim chamisha kivusim b'nei shana chamisha zekamon el Yosef ben Duel.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torat emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'torah.
Amen. Please rise for lifting time of the third Sefer Torah. I think it's the heaviest one, Howie. It's the heaviest one. Just warning you that it's the heaviest. Oh. It's the heaviest of the Torah. So you need a hand up here. V'zot ha'torah asher sam Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael avi Adonai b'yad Moshe. Torah, Siva lanu Moshe, Morasha Keilat Yaakov, Morasha Keilat Yaakov, Morasha Keilat Yaakov, Torah Tzira Lanu. It's probably up here somewhere. Oh, wow, 3 Torahs. All right. You can be seated, the Torah's resting. And the Haftorah for Shabbat of Hanukkah is from Zechariah, chapter 2, verse 14. It's on page 1270. And if I recall correctly, Zechariah is the prophet during the dedication of the second temple, and so the references about dedication and renewal are fitting for this time of Hanukkah. I hope that's the correct introduction.
I believe so, yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, and so is this the first time you've chanted your Haftorah since your Bat Mitzvah?
Yes, I took on the challenge. We'll see. And in honor of Hanukkah, I encourage for the community to join me in the blessings before and after, so we can all be a community together.
Okay, we'd be glad to join you in the Haftorah blessings.
Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'ratzav v'divreihem ha'ne'emarim be'emen. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'Moshe abdo v'Yisrael amo u'niyeh ha'emet v'tzedek. Rani v'simchi bat Zion ki hineni va v'shavchaneti v'tochech ne'um Adonai v'ni levu goyim rabim el Adonai bayom hahu v'hayu li le'am v'shavchaneti v'tochech v'yadat ki Adonai Sevaot shalachani elayich v'nachal Adonai et Yehodua chelko al admat hakodesh uvahar od Yerushalayim. Haskol basar mipnei Adonai ki neor mima'on kadesho vayareni et Yehoshua hakohen hagadol omed lifnei malach Adonai v'hasatan omed al yamino lisitno vayomer Adonai el hasatan yigar Adonai becha hasatan vayigar Adonai becha habocher b'Yerushalayim halo ze'od mutzah memesh v'Hoshua haya lavush begadim so'im ve'omed lifnei hamalach vaya'an vayomer el ha'omdim lefanav lemor hasiru habagadim hatzoim malav vayomer elav re'eh ha'evarti ma'alecha avonecha ve'labyesh otecha machalatzot va'omer mar vayasimu sanif tahor al rosho, vayasmiu hasanif hatohar el rosho, hayilashbiu begadim umalach Adonai omeid. Vayad malach Adonai behoshia lemor, ko amar Adonai Zebaot, im bercha talech ve'im et mimarti tishmor vegamata tadid et beiti vegam tishmor et hatzarai venatati lecha mahalachim ben ha'omdim ha'eleh. Shamana Yehoshua HaKohen Hagadol Ata v'yarecha chashavim lefanecha ki aneshi mefet haema ki hinei mevi et avdi semach ki hine ha'even asher natatai lefanei Yehoshua al even achad shvia enayim hineni mepateach pitucha ne'um Adonai Sevaot umashti et on ha'art hahi bayom echad bayom hahu ne'um Adonai Sevaot tikreu ish lereyehu el tahar gefen ve'el tahat te'ena ve'ashav hamalacha hadaber bi vayireni ke'ish asher ye'or mishnato vayomer elai ma'ata ro'eh va'omar re'iti v'chana menarot v'chakula v'gula al rosho v'shiva noratecha elecha shvia v'shiva mutzakot l'nerot asher al rosha Ushanayim zeitim elecha echad mimin hagudla v'achad asmiola v'a'an v'omar el hamalach hadover bi lemor ma'ale Adoni v'ya'an hamalach hadibar bo vayom elai halo yedata mahama eleh vayomer lo Adoni vaya'an vayomer elai lemor zeh devar Adonai el zebevel lemor lo bechalil velo bechal im beruchi amat Adonai Sebaot miata ha-hagadol lifnei Zerubbabel limishor v'chotzi et ha'aven v'rusha tishon hein cheva Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam Sor kol halamim Sadik b'chol hadorot Ha'el ha'ne'eman Ha'omer v'yoseh Hadaber umchayim shechol devarcha emet vatzedech. Ne'eman atahu Adonai Eloheinu, v'ne'emanim devarecha, v'divar echad midirecha, ochelo yashuv recham, ki el melech ne'eman, v'racham ata, baruch ata Adonai, ha'el ha'kanaman b'chol devarav.
Amen.
Rachim al Tzion ki hu beit chayenu, levalachtim nefesh toshia, bimheira v'yameinu, baruch ata Adonai, mishameach Tzion levanecha.
Amen.
Salcheinu Adonai Eloheinu be'eliyahu hanavi avdecha, u'malachut bein David mishichecha, bimheira yavo v'golal libeinu, al kiso lo yeshev za v'lo v'nachalo od acherim et kivodo, ki v'shem chachachat nishbatalo, shelo yechachel nero liolam va'ed, baruch ata Adonai,
Baruch Shema.
Magen David.
Amen.
Al HaTorah, v'al HaAvodah, v'al HaVonim, v'al Yom HaShabbat Hazeh, Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu, Likdosho l'menurecha, lechavod u'tiferet, Achol Adonai Eloheinu, anachnu modim lach, u'malachim otach, Yataberch Shimcha b'fi kochai, Tamid li'olam va'ed, Baruch ata Adonai, Mikadesh HaShabbat. Amen. Thank you.
Well, in honor of in honor of Susan's chanting on 148, a prayer for those who serve the community. If you feel to join me, you're welcome in the second paragraph, 148. May God, who blessed their ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless this entire congregation, together with all holy congregations, them, their sons and daughters, their families, and all that is theirs, along with those who unite to establish synagogues for prayer, and those who enter them to pray, and those who give funds for heat and light and wine for kiddush and hadalah, bread to the wayfarer and charity to the poor, and all who devotedly involve themselves with the needs of this community and the land of Israel. May the Holy One reward them, remove sickness from them, heal them, and forgive their sins. May God bless them by making all their worthy endeavors prosperous, as well as those of the entire people Israel. And let us say, Amen. Continue with the Ashrei. I think we did Mevarchim HaChodesh last month. Yeah, that's last week. That's right. And so we continue with the Ashrei on page 151. Alva is going to be going down to Florida, and so we'd be honored if you would lead Ashrei for us until the weather warms up. Yeah, if you'll come up. Absolutely. There you go.
Thank you. What happiness to be in your house, to sing your praise, to belong to your people.
What happiness to worship God.
My God, my guide, I will praise you always. Day after day will I extol you.
God is infinite and awesome, beyond all praise and all description.
Age after age, your works are praised, your power is felt, your deeds are lauded.
I too am touched by your glory, by the wonders of your creation.
Some may speak of you only in awe, but I speak of you with immense joy.
The very mention of your goodness yields delight.
God is gracious and kind, patient and very loving. good to everyone, compassionate to all creatures.
May all your children be worthy of you. May all who claim to love you be a blessing.
May they honor your sovereignty by declaring your power, by showing the splendor of godliness.
Your realm is the unbounded cosmos. Your reign endures throughout eternity.
God upholds all who falter and lifts up all the downtrodden.
All eyes must look to you with hope. Satisfy our needs in due time.
Your hand is always ready to fill all life with joy. You are just in every way, loving in every gesture.
You are near to all who call upon you, with integrity.
May God always hear the prayer of the pious, always answer their pleas and come to their aid.
May God guard every loving soul and destroy all wickedness.
May my own lips utter God's praise. May all people worship God always.
May all of us praise God now and forever. Hallelujah. Yashukah. I'd like you've heard of the three tenors, the three Torah carriers here at No, Donnie, you're first, because yours is the first Torah. Yeah, hallelujah, Shem Adonai, ki niskav shemo levado, hodol al eretz ve'shamayim, vayaharem keren le'amo, tihila lecho chasidav, livnei Yisrael am kerovo. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Mizmor leDavid, Havul Adonai v'nei, Havul Adonai kavod va'oz, Havul Adonai kevod shemo, Ishtachavu Adonai behadra kodesh, Kol Adonai l'mayim elakavod hirim, Adonai amayim rabim, Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai be'adai, Kol Adonai shover arazim, Vaishaber Adonai et arzei ha'levanon, Vayekidem kamo egel levanon v'siyon kamo ven remim, Kol Adonai hotzev lavotesh, Kol Adonai yachir midbar, Kol Adonai yachol ayalot, Kol Adonai yachol ayalot, Vayechesov yerod v'cholo kulo omer kavod, Adonai lama bo yasha, Vayeshev Adonai melech le'olam, Adonai oz le'ama yiten, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom, uvnucho yomar. Ki lekach natati lachem torati ta'azovu et ha'im hi l'makazikim ba v'tomchecha mehuja derachecha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom. Ashivenu Adonai elecha v'nashuva Chadesh Chadesh Yameinu Chadesh Yameinu kekedem. 155. Yitkada v'yitkada shemei rabba, be'amad yivrach yirtei v'amlich malchutei, b'chayichon uv'yomechon, u'chayidecho beit Yisrael, bagala bagala, uv'izman kariv v'imeru ha'mei. Yitbarach, Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Vitpar, Vitma, Vitnase, Vitada, Vitale, Vitala, Shemid Kudish Aberichu, Le'ela min kol bechata v'shirata, tush bechata v'nechemata, damiram be'alama, v'meru, amen. 156b, the Amidah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzhak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim v'Koneh Hakol v'Zocher Chastei Avot ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר פוקד ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני מחיים מתים את אביו להושיע משיב הרוח מוריד הגשם מחכה חיים בחסד מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מחמוך בגבורות, ומדמה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. נעריצך ונקדישך, כסוד שיח צפי קודש, המקדישים שמך בקודש, ככתוב היה נביאך, וקרא זה זה ואמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך על הארץ כבודו, כבודו מלא עולם, משרתיו שואלים זה לזה, איה מקום כבודו, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו. ברוך אדוני ממקומו, ממקומו, הוא יפן ברחמים, ויחונם, המייחדים שמו, ערב ובוקר, בכל יום תמיד, פעמיים באהבה, שמה אומרים, שמה ישראל, אדוני אלוהינו, אדוני אחד, הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא משיענו, והוא ישמיענו, ברחמה שנית, לעיני כל חי, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ודברי קודשך כתוב לאמור, ימלוך אדוני לעולם אלוהיך ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיגו לך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך. I don't know that one. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיגו לך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיגו לך, ולנצח נצחים, קדושתך נקדיש, קדושתך נקדיש. ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש, לעולם לעולם ועד. לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיגו לך, לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיגו לך. כי המלך גדול גדול וקדוש 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 אתה. כי המלך גדול גדול וקדוש 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 אתה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. You have established Shabbat Adonai, our God. We thank you for the miraculous deliverance, for the heroes and for the triumphs of our ancestors and for ancient days until our time. Shalom b'noma, Yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, v'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Amen. Kaddish Shalom 181. Yikadav Kaddish Merabah. Ve'amad v'rachatem u'meichvatev chaychonu v'yomechonu v'chayedu kol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv v'meru amen. Yehish merabah mevara. Ve'olamo me'omaya yitbarach. Yitbarach v'yishabach v'tbar v'tmar v'tzev v'tedav v'yetalei shmita krusha b'richu. Le'elam ekol bechatav v'shiratat v'chatnu nechavatad demiram b'ma v'meru amen. Tikabasot honavaton korisot chanavahom d'shma v'meru amen. Yehish lamarava mishma v'chaim aleinu v'kol Yisrael v'meru amen. Oseh shalom b'mrama v'yoseh shalom aleinu v'kol Yisrael v'meru amen. Would anybody like to lead Ein Keloheinu? Somebody who likes to sing. Ein Keloheinu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkeinu, Ein Kemoshienu, Mich Eloheinu, Mich Adonenu, Mich Emalkeinu, Mich Kemoshienu, Nodel Eloheinu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkeinu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, Atahu Shektiru Avoteinu, Lefanecha Eketoret Hasamim. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol, latet gdula liotzer breishi, shelo asana kogeye haratzot, velo samanu kamishbahot adama, shelo sam chelkenu kahem, vegor aleinu kecho hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, Lifnei melech malachei hamalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, shehu notei shamayim ve'yoser haaretz, u'moshe v'ikaro b'shamayim ima'ah, u'shkinatu zo, b'govei meromi, u'Eloheinu einod, emet malkeinu efezulato, Kakahatu betorato vedatayom ve'ashevota elevavecha ki Adonai hu Elohim b'shamayim ima'ah ve'al haaretz mitachat einod. Okay, Kakatu b'toratech Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol haaretz bayom ha'u yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. Feel free to be seated. If you were wanting to volunteer but didn't, there's upcoming opportunity. If you would like to lead a prayer for healing, if you would like to lead Debbie Friedman's prayer for healing or Adon Olam, you can think about it. Because at this point in the service, we're going to remember those who passed in the past 30 days. Charlotte Davis, sister of Andrew Leader Kramer, Nanette Scheibel, the sister of Herb Miller, Rachel Roditi, the mother of Moshe Roditi, and Michael Bazin, the brother-in-law of Carl and Sandy Shallot, Lois and Bobby Kaplan. Remember the yortzites that fell out today of Eugene Dembo, brother of Sam Dembo, Judith Fishman, mother of Joan Rosenthal, Norman Golko, the brother of Paul Golko, Lillian Talkov, the mother of Jane Alexander. Tonight to tomorrow, remember the yortzites of Shirley Goodman, aunt of Murray Goodman, Gunther Kahn, the brother of Eric Kahn, Ruth Yanofsky, the mother of Brenda Smillian, Harold Goldman, and Fanny Greenbaum. For all those in mourning or observing the yahrzeit, join me in the Kaddish on 184. Together, Yit Gedal ve'Yit Kedash Shemechaba, Be'alma divrach Yerutei v'amlich Malchutei, B'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala u'vizman kari v'imru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach le'olam olomei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishdabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei d'Kudusha b'richu. Le'ela min kol bechata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Osei shalom v'mromav uyasei shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. We'll offer now a prayer for healing. If anybody would like to lead that prayer. All right. You're going to, great, Lois. Wonderful. You have to know it by memory. It's Debbie Friedman's prayer for healing. Okay. Thank you for volunteering. We'll get it close enough. All right, we'll sing together. You want to lead a faith? I just get confused on the words it meant. Anyways, we'll do our best. God, you will understand. Lay the source of strength, who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Who can we say a prayer for? Prayers for healing? Yeah, Ruth? Mimi? Eddie? Sarah? Mark? Alva? Doris? Donnie? Faith? And please, God, source of healing, be with Rowan Hoffman, Shruga Gali, Ben Simon, Barry M. Starford, Yochel Moshe, Ben Yocheved, Ginny Silva, Caitlin Crump, Ravam Cohn, Lynn Cooperstein, Dahlia Bat Sarah, Faith Learning, Ari David Be'er, Shlomo Dov, Ben Chana Sarah. Give strength to Miriam, Sarah Bat Reisel, Casey Bat Shmi Moshe, Ruvin Azar Bat Chana, Joel Parnes, Stephen Everett, Aaron Ben Devorah, Hannah Bat Adar, Avram Yosef Ben Chaim Yaakov. May your presence be warmth for Michaela Chaya Bat Batya Bela, Miriam Davida Bat Donna and Merle 11, Golia Rachel Bat Sarah Mayim, Evan Finnemore, Beryl Ben Goya Rachel, Brinda Sora Bat Chana. May you give light to Binyamin Ben Chana, Lev Shalom Ben Miriam Shoshana, Chaim Elu Ben Ari Lev, Raful Ben Elchama, Judy Krasker, Bruce Samuels, Esther Bat Malka, Eliai, Yona Ben Rivka, Ita Miriam Bat Sheva, Shoshana Gesha, Blumen Bat Livy. May you send visitors to Lior, Simcha Bat Sarah, Jerry Ducate, Shandal Bat Miriam, Libby Chaya Bat Skadesh, Rihoshua Ben Shmuel, Devorah Rachel Bat Chana Sarah, Efrat Fegi Bat Sarah, Esther Baruch Ben Shena Etta, Sheila Rich, Yonatan Ben Bela. May they not know loneliness. Shoshana Bat Elisheva, Mark Singer, Madeline Sevenor, Francis Perlman, Miriam Abramson, Joel Abramson, John Levin, Tzedek Ben Shena Gittel, Menachem Mendel Ben Chana, and Chaya Bat Shimon. Please. What? Please, God, be with all those whose names we've mentioned. Mishe berachim otenu mekor habracha lavotenu. May the source of strength, bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema. The renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Well done. The president of the board of directors, Ruth Esters.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Lots of announcements. Happy Hanukkah to everybody. The Atlantic Avenue Limud Adult Education with Rabbi Michael and Rabbi David Meyer continues on January 3rd. There are 3 more sessions, so join us on the second one. You don't need to have been there for the first. Rabbi Michael is going to begin the Book of Kings, Adult Ed on January 18th. There are multiple classes you can attend at 10 a.m. in person or 7:30 p.m. on Zoom. That's what it says?
Yeah, I prepare once and I teach 2 sections.
Wow.
One in person and one online. Yeah.
There's a flyer in the lobby. I'm so confused. Tzedek Lakol is sponsoring the showing of the film Joachim Prince, is that right? Barbara's shaking her head. I shall not be silent on Sunday morning, January 15th at 10 a.m. Wow, that sounds great. RSVPs, please. There will be a light breakfast and a discussion. The Men's Club is sponsoring a blood drive here on January 25th. A reminder, no Boker Tov Cafe or Shabbat Cafe either today or next week. So staff could have some time off, but we will be having services next week. The cantor and I will be doing it while the rabbi takes the day off, so please be here. The office, we're closing the office between December 26th and January 2nd, but the building will be open for minyan and for services. We will return on January 7th with the bar mitzvah of Noam Rogozin. So please let us know if you're coming. As you would imagine, we're expecting a lot of people, and we just need to know, how many are going to be here and how much food needs to be prepared, et cetera. So space is limited. Please RSVP. Please let us know that you're going to be here. Family table. I don't know if you heard, they're looking for Hanukkah candles. I'm told Stop and Shop still has plenty. Buy them, bring them, donate them. What else do they need? Kosher raisins and kosher soup and whole grain crackers drop off in the lobby. Please clean up when you leave so our folks don't have to spend too much time doing it. Thanks to Mark Weiner, Mark Messenger, Alan Sidman, Howie Abrams, Susan Yakolov. I thought that prayer, Rabbi, that you did about thanking people who serve us, it's so true and so grateful, which takes me to gratefulness. The staff does so much for us. So number one, I am so grateful for our staff, and I'm so grateful that we have the ability to give them a week off and a little time to recover. So please be gracious and grateful to Barry and Cheryl and Janice and all of the people that help us every week, as well as our volunteers. I wanted to thank Doris, who this week taught me how to fold and process the new wave, Gesundheit. All these things take effort, and we've got all these wonderful people that help us do it. So I'm so grateful for all of them. Now he's leaving. I'm incredibly grateful for Rabbi Michael. He was saying that his job today was to make us miss Cantor Sarah, and I said he failed because I'm just so happy to be with him. Wouldn't you just follow him anywhere? We're so lucky to have him, so I'm going to follow him to Israel. I don't know about the rest of you. I'm grateful that the storm ended. Where I live is right where the waves come crashing, and the street and the park, everything was filled with water. And then this morning I woke up and the sun was shining, so thank you, God, because the sun comes back after the storm. And then the last thing was a personal one. I was telling Mimi, and I said in the Mishaberes the name of my first cousin, who grew up in Swampscott, and his brother called me. I was here a day or so ago. What a surprise. And to tell me that he was dying, and if I wanted to see him, I needed to go this weekend. So as soon as I leave here, I'm going to pick up my brother, and we're going to drive to Western Massachusetts to see my cousin before he dies, and he's just 2 years older than I am. We share a diagnosis, so, it's very sad. And there's nowhere I would rather be than here with all of you today, to be comforted and to have such joy. And Mimi knows that when I sat down next to her, I reached under my chair and I pulled out my siddur, and as I always do, I looked at the plaque, the inscription, and my mother had bought that book, and it said that it was from Helen Estrich and her family. And I was sitting there, and Mimi's showing it to you. She's holding it. And I'm just so grateful that this is where God brought me, that I can be here with all of you on Shabbat, that I can go see I can get in my car and take my brother and see my cousin, and I could sit there next to my dear friend Mimi and hold a book that my mother bought, 30 years ago. So Shabbat Shalom to all of you, and I love you all so much.
Amen, amen, amen. Amen, amen, amen. Oy, 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 amen, amen. Amen, amen. How do we tell the story of the Maccabean revolt? So, who were the good guys? We know that the Maccabees were the good guys. Who were the bad guys? Whether you call them the Greeks, the Syrian Greeks, the Seleucid Greeks, whatever. The Greeks were the bad guys. Who were the leaders of the Maccabees? It was Mattathias. Mattisyahu was the father. His son was Judah. On the bad side, the king of the Greeks was Antiochus IV. So now my question is, and when we tell this story about the Maccabean rebellion, the revolt, who fired the first shot? Who was the first victim? What happened in those crucial initial moments of the battle? And how do we tell that story? We usually don't tell that much detail about it. And the details that we do have of that come from the book of First Maccabees, which is not part of our canon. It was preserved by the Christian tradition, but it wasn't part of the Jewish tradition, despite the fact that a Jew wrote the book of Maccabees. And I believe it was written in Hebrew initially, but it was preserved in Greek, and then I think has come down to us. There are two books of Maccabees. There's First and Second Maccabees, and Michael Goldstein, the scholar who writes the commentary on the book of Maccabees for the Anchor Bible, says that they're both works of propaganda, and there must have been some opposition, and each book was in support of some camp amongst the Jews at that time. But he says, nevertheless, despite its propaganda, you can still learn history from such a work because there are limits to how far somebody can stretch the truth of history without losing their audience, and there are obviously going to be points of overlap. So I won't want to suggest that what I'm going to share with you now is the historical record, like as if we had just recorded what Ruth said here on the Bima, but it is a presentation in the Jewish tradition of the story that would have been known despite the fact that it wasn't canonized. It would have been known at some stages of Jewish history before it perhaps was lost. And I think the question is, why don't we tell it that way? And should we tell the story this way? So here's how the book of First Maccabees gets started. The king's officers who were enforcing the apostasy came to the city of Modi'in to make them offer sacrifice. Right? There's going to be a new program in town, you Jews, and the sacrifice is going to be a little different. And I'm going to go around, and now that I've taken care of Jerusalem, I'm going to go around to all the little towns and see who's going to follow along with the new program. Many from Israel came to them, and Mattathias and his sons were assembled. Then the king's officers spoke to Mattathias as follows: "You are a leader, honored and great in the city, and supported by sons and brothers. Now, be the first to do what the king commands, as all the Gentiles and all the men of Judah and those that are left in Jerusalem have done. Then you and your sons will be numbered among the friends of the king, and you and your sons will be honored with silver and gold and many gifts." But Mattathias answered and said in a loud voice, "Even if all the nations that live under the rule of the king obey him and have chosen to do his commandments, departing each one from the religion of his fathers, yet I and my sons and my brothers will live by the covenant of our fathers. Far be it from us to desert the law and the ordinances. We will not obey the king's words by turning aside from our religion to the right hand or the left. So he's defiant. He's not going to go along with the program. He's going to continue to observe Torah. Now listen to what happens next, right? The first, commendable bravery. Stands up for his values, his beliefs, the right to be a Jew. When he had finished speaking these words, a Jew came forward in the sight of all to offer sacrifice upon the altar in Modi'in, according to the king's command. When Mordecai saw it, he burned with zeal and his heart was stirred. He gave vent to his righteous anger. He ran and killed him upon the altar. So the first victim is a Jew. The first shot is fired by a Jew. And we don't usually tell the story that way. It's a civil conflict is a messier battle and not so pretty to tell. And so the question is, what's, if you will, what's wrong with the story? How do we deal with it? Does it make us uncomfortable? Are there reasons to perhaps revive that version of the story? At the same time, he killed the king's officers who were forcing them to sacrifice, and he tore down the altar. Thus he burned with zeal for the law, as Pinchas did against Zimri, the son of Salu. I don't know if you know what we're referring to in the reference to Pinchas is from chapter 25 in the book of Numbers, after the story of Bilam and the talking donkey. The Israelites at Baal Peor are enticed by the local women through intimate acts to worship the foreign gods. So it's another story of idolatry and enticement. And in his similar zeal, Pinchas takes a sword and stabs it through the Jewish prince and I think it's Midianite, I'm not sure, and the woman who are engaged in an intimate act at that time. And so Pinchas, very similarly, uses language about his zeal for the Lord, his anger was kindled. And the author of First Maccabees is looking favorably back to Pinchas and comparing, if you will, Matisyahu to Pinchas, this moment of taking the, if you will, actions into your own hands, but carrying out capital punishment, so to speak, in that moment. And so it only elevates the way the author sees Matisyahu in this moment, and perhaps elevates our discomfort that he would be upheld as a hero, and Pinchas would be upheld in that same way. And normally, I won't say normally. So the book of Maccabees is written around the year 110 BCE, about 50 years after the events themselves. But that's before the Mishnah and the Talmud, which are reflective of the rabbinic tradition. And it would seem that the rabbinic tradition of which we have practiced and been heirs to for 2,000 years did not want this to be the story of Hanukkah, right? They wanted and told a story of Hanukkah that was about a supernatural miracle of oil burning in the temple that lasted for 8 nights, a hand of God, very little mention of the battle, let alone this type of retelling. In fact, our tradition is really uncomfortable with taking the law into one's own hands. It doesn't want to have vigilante justice. If there's going to be a capital punishment, crimes that are capital offenses need to be witnessed by 2 people. The accused needs to be brought before a court. The witnesses need to be interrogated, interrogated severely, lest a mistake be made, and things are expected to happen in that way. So, for instance, about the Pinchas, the story in the book of Numbers, The rabbis, because rabbis would never comment on the book of Maccabees because that's not part of the canon. They don't have comments on it. The rabbis were uncomfortable with Pinchas's act. He set a dangerous precedent, taking the law into his own hands, slaying a man impulsively in disregard of the law. Some argued that Moses and the other leaders would have excommunicated Pinchas. Pinchas is the priest. He's in Aaron's line. That they would have thrown him out of the Israelite community, which is, in a sense, we're going to write you out of Jewish history and out of the Jewish people, were it not for a divine decree declaring that Pinchas had acted on God's belief. So when later generations in the year, say 400 of the Common Era, imagine themselves excommunicating Pinchas, they're, in severe terms, they are condemning his actions and in a way saying, we're going to teach a very different way in our tradition. And so this is a bit, I think, of the challenge that we have presented from the book of Maccabees, which tells the story and sets things out. And I don't know, does it make us uncomfortable to have this story? Do we try to, despite the fact that our tradition doesn't condone Pinchas's act, and certainly not the act of Mattisyahu, do we perhaps see the need for it? I think for me, personally, the situation that the Maccabees were in is one of where it was punishable by death to practice Judaism. And so their act of rebellion was very much motivated by the fact that the very way of life and the practice to which they adhered was under threat. But it's really difficult to figure out what the line of threat is. In this day and age, there's, I think, increasing legitimate concerns about political violence. And that's perhaps one context in which we can understand this. Right? I think it was a poll from 2020 or so, maybe 2021, that 11% of Democrats and 12% of Republicans both said that in the right circumstances, a violent response might be necessary. And it's quite frightening to think that would be the mechanism when we do have a mechanism for change, which is to vote. And so this concern about where you draw the line. So the sages, our tradition said, there is no line that will be drawn of when violence is acceptable. We're always going to say that there isn't vigilante justice. We need to adhere to the law and handle things in that context. On the practical side, we saw, I'm glad we get to celebrate Hanukkah, and it makes it a little messy for me to think that perhaps at that moment it was necessary, because I'd have trouble defining when that line gets drawn. And that it might be easy in the later retelling to say that when observance of Torah, circumcision, Shabbat are all punishable by death. It's a pretty severe set of decrees that really make it difficult for you to continue to live as a Jew. The reason I didn't mention kashrut is there are certain European countries, I believe, that have begun to outlaw the normal method of kosher slaughter. It's problematic, but it's not the same situation, because we're not obligated to eat meat, right? If we were in a country where you can't acquire kosher meat, it's not a threat to our existence because I could eat vegetarian. I don't have a positive mitzvah that says you have to be a Jew, you have to eat meat every Friday night. So we can affirm the sages and continue to live by our tradition. It might be a little degree of degradation. It might be an element of exploitation. It might be hardship, but we could still live. And therefore, thinking about when the line elevates to a place where you can't respond, I think is really difficult. And I think overall, I think that the highest, obviously, bar, if one wants to set one, or one then falls on the side of you can't set a bar or define when that threshold gets crossed, and it should never be crossed. Nevertheless, I think there's some unique complexities and challenges to thinking about what it means to be so proud to be Jewish, proud to celebrate Hanukkah, the story of being able to want to stand up for the way we practice and our traditions and the courage and the bravery of the Maccabees, and at the same time that sometimes that meant not only, right, they weren't just rebelling against the king's officers. That wasn't the first person killed. It wasn't the oppressor who was killed. It was their fellow Jew who had a different way of being Jewish. And these challenges back then remain challenges today. It's certainly, we can understand historically why that story may not have been told. There were terrible, terrible failed revolts, if you will, in 116 to 117 in North Africa, and then the Bar Kokhba revolt from 132 to 135. We don't have great history of these moments, but in brief, my understanding would be that after the Romans destroyed the temple in the year 70 of the Common Era, 2 generations later, in 116, 117, or 132, the Jews felt that there was such a severe degree of exploitation that they were going to rebel and were slaughtered. And that happens again in 132 to 135, and so you could see why the rabbis really didn't want to tell stories of rebellion, didn't want perhaps to recognize that there were elites within the Jewish community who would have been supportive of Roman exploitation or Roman programs because they were doing okay, but the people weren't. And so it's challenging and problematic to have this retelling of the story, and I don't have a good solution other than it's something to think about when do you need to stand up like Matisyahu? Is there ever a time when that could be the right response? And if so, what might there be in terms of thinking about how to generalize the values out of that particular moment? Shabbat Shalom. Would anybody like to conclude with Adon Olam, particularly to a Hanukkah melody or something? Somebody who's really musical and could make everybody smile and laugh, who was working it out while I was giving my Devar Torah. Is it going to be? The anticipation. Is it going to be a Hanukkah? Silent night? I mean, what's...
No, it's not going to be silent. But it is a tune that we haven't really sang very much. So let's see if we remember it, okay?
Yeah.
Adon Olam Asher Malak B'Teherim Kol Yitzir Nivra Le'et Nasa V'Hefso Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kiklot HaKol Levado Yimlok Nora Ve'hu Hoya Ve'hu Hoveh Ve'hu Yeh B'Tifara Ve'hu Echad Ve'ein Sheni Leham Shilo Lehakbira Beli Reshit Beli Saklit Velo Haoz Ve'ha Misra Ve'hu Eli Ve'chai Goali Ve'sur Chevli Be'et Sora Ve'hu Nisi Umahanosli Minot Kosi B'Yom Ekra Be'yahado Avkihid Ruchi Ve'et Ishan Ve'ayira Ve'im Ruchi Gaviyati Adonai li Ve'lo Ira.
That was beautiful, Jan.
Thank you.
Unfamiliar and beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yasher koach. Guys, for Kiddush. ושמעו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. אוי 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 בני ובני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבה וינפש. זכור את יום השבת לקודשו, ששת ימים תבוא ועשית כל מלאכתך, וביום השביעי שבת לאדוני אלוהיך, לא תעשה כל מלאכה אתה ובנך וביתך, עבדך ואמתך ובהמתך וגרך אשר בשעריך, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, את הים ואת כל אשר בם, וינח ביום השביעי, על כן בירך אדוני יום השבת ויקדשהו סברי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, בורא פרי הגפן. Anybody like to help with the holy hand washing? All right, 1, 2, 3. Right. Just 3 on each hand. 1, 2, 3. Raise your hands high, say a blessing with the rabbi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al natilat yadayim. Hamotzi, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat Shalom B'tei Avon. I believe this is our lunch. Thanks, Alan.